Hi, welcome to the CurbVulture podcast. I'm Elaine Mingus, your host, and today I'm super excited about this episode. We have Clinton and Eli. We're going to be talking about so many things. They're some of the funniest guys that I've seen on the internet. The first way that I started getting to know them was finding an Instagram reel where Clinton was pulling off the skirt on a vintage couch and he called it a grabber madoodle. Oh my goodness, that is so funny. So that's how I started following them. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves, give them a little bit of a background for you so that you can get to know who they are.
I'm Clinton Avery Tharp. I was born a musician boy and I grew into a furniture man. Eli, go.
I'm Eli Hartley, and I started my life as a corporate kind of person, and now I'm doing this with Clint.
So how did you both, how did you meet?
Cross country.
We met, or track. I think it was just regular track in high school.
So, y'all were in high school together?
Yeah.
Doing cross country, not cross country.
We met across the country.
Yeah.
Actually running.
Yeah, running. Yeah, running.
Short answer, we met in high school.
Yeah.
Okay. I did cross country in high school. I was actually pretty good. I lettered in varsity, or was on varsity in my freshman year, and then my life took a turn for not so good.
Yeah, it was before we started drinking.
Yeah, exactly. It was before I started drinking. So before you met, I guess you were met in high school. So who started selling vintage first? How did that work out? How did y'all get into this together?
Well, first of all, whenever we did meet and everything, we, became instant friends. And I remember going over to Eli's house, and in his room, he's just in high school, but he had exposed his concrete floors and painted them. And he painted his room a cool color. He used to always paint his room blue, tropical blue. What would you call it?
Yeah, definitely a tropical.
And so I'm just saying that because that's a little background. We've always been into this kind of stuff. We've always been what kind of weird stuff can we do in our rooms when we were kids?
And it was the early 2000s, and we were in high school, so we'd go thrifting for really tight, obscure T-shirts.
Yeah, we were thrifting together in high school.
Something, with like
goodbye, Hillary.
Ted's house, or
yeah.
No, I was born in 1980, so I was the same. Where a lot of polyester for me, polyester vintage shirts with trains on them. It was kind of a whole vibe for me in high school too. Yeah. So, how did you're painting your room in high school. Your mom, was she just okay with this? This was just
she was into it. Yeah, somehow. I don't know. I was like, hey mom, can I just rip up my carpet? And
it's really trusting for a mom.
Yeah. She was just always really laid back like that.
Yeah. And I feel like your mom always sort of kind of got into whatever you were doing too.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, so we're smoking weed now. Just kidding, but
seriously.
Just kidding, but not really. My mom was similar.
Yeah. Fine. If you're going to do it, then I'll be the supplier.
Right. Yeah.
And she becomes just a huge drug dealer.
It was a crazy time.
Right. Yeah. Sure. It was a different time.
So was it just your room, Eli, or Clinton too? You did your room as well?
Yeah. I kind of did. I had weird taste. The first thing I got into was collecting tin cans, old tins and things. So I kind of went through my old man phase at that time. And then one of my first jobs, it was my fourth job, was at a place called Directions in Furniture. And that was a place that sold retro modern style furniture, not vintage though. It was being manufactured in the early 2000s. And that's when I really got to express my love for furniture. That's when I got into that stuff.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our early 20s, I remember going over to his apartment, and he was just ahead of the curve. He had all the the grown-up stuff. He was getting
into IKEA.
Yeah.
I went to IKEA in Texas with our buddy Cody Ingram, who's in a lot of the videos with me as well. And man, I just remember I bought shelves called Lance, or whatever.
Oh yeah, Snickerling.
Lights that mounted up underneath. So I had the 2 shelves above my bed. Then I had 2 lac nightstands. Oh, the shelves were lac. That's what they were.
Yeah.
And the lighting, the nightstands. I even got a duvet cover from there.
It
And
was like all very cohesive.
yes.
Yeah.
Realistic.
Light up the corners, it's dim, it's perfect mood lighting.
Yeah.
Like, he had like the perfect apartment to go to after going out, and we're gonna go have a scotch. But even though it's like the worst,
we don't even know what scotch is.
We don't even know what
really.
that is. But our sophisticated friend Clint, we're going to his apartment.
Yeah, very sophisticated. I think that's funny. Like, I felt that too when I was decorating my house. It's like I felt like when I was doing like kind of a hodgepodge, like it wasn't grown up, but like there's like this grown up vibe of furniture where you're like it's all cohesive and it like looks really like Pinterest-esque. So I totally can understand that point of view. So like when you were getting stuff together, do you feel like, there was a moment where you were like, I don't want to do like IKEA, I want to do vintage?
I'm a thrifter, always have been. So is Eli. And you go to the thrift stores and you just start seeing cool stuff that you're like, man, this would work. If I ever need another chair, I'm going to just start buying them here. And my clothes, my furniture just kind of always came from thrift stores.
Mm-hmm.
But like you get to go to IKEA once in a blue moon and you do it that way. But yeah, everywhere I've ever lived, it's been furnished with thrift store furniture. So that's how
it wasn't just like IKEA stuff. So like when where was your inspiration from, considering this was kind of pre-internet-ish?
Mm-hmm.
You are guys going to the thrift store, which I mean maybe that's sexist of me, but just like kind of the idea of like that is not the normal.
Finding that inspiration, I don't know why I always gravitated towards retro modern, mid-century modern. I just always loved it. It was just in my DNA.
Yeah, just in your DNA.
Yeah. Had my DNA checked. They found it in there.
And so when you're in Oklahoma, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So was there just a plethora of vintage stores? Is there like I know in Texas we have Montrose, we have, Austin, Texas, which has a lot of vintage. Is there an area there that's like known for its vintage?
Not really. I mean, do you think?
No. I mean, we have a decent amount of thrift stores in the city. We're not a small town by any means, but compared to like LA or New York, we're fairly small town. And my experience is that smaller towns often have a lot of vintage stuff at thrift stores. It's more abundant.
And the style that we're into is not as popular here as it would be in coastal regions and whatnot. So there might be more of a bounty of vintage cool furniture here than in those areas. Not these days, everybody knows about it now.
Yeah.
So we've got to pick every day we can and leave the thrift store empty-handed most times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm feeling that here in Austin as well. It definitely has, it's harder to find things without going further and further out from a larger area.
Right.
You both were in high school. You both were kind of into this design decoration thing. When did you decide to work together? Or because I know that you were going to talk about you going into the antique mall and having a kind of a booth there. Did y'all go into that together, or did?
See, no, it wasn't until years later that Eli and I sort of, figured out that like, hey, he could probably do this too. I had already been doing the furniture stuff, so for years and years, I was a musician in my early 20s and on into my 30s. And that's why I usually say is I'm a musician, therefore I flip furniture for a living, because
makes sense. Yeah.
Musician, don't make a whole lot. So I always had to supplement my income with like selling stuff on the side. I had a booth at a place called Bad Granny's for a long time, doing vintage furniture and like little oddities and vintage goods. I had a booth at a place called Room 3, a booth at a place called The Basement. It wasn't until a few booths later that I found the Rink in Oklahoma City. And that was the best place to be at the time, because that's where you could have a big space. That's where a lot of stuff moved. They had so much traffic. I mean, they would have like $10,000 days.
Wow. Yeah, that definitely beats probably musician pay. So when was so you were being a musician, like what was that moment when you went from I'm decorating my house with vintage furniture and IKEA and all the things and everything's a mood to I'm gonna flip? Like what was that first piece or that first moment when you decided to do that?
I think just friends would come over. I'd have a lot of friends over all the time, and they'd be like, "Man, where do you get this stuff?" And like, I thrifted that, And then friends would be like, "Can I buy this off of you?" And I think one time I was just like, "Sure," because I needed the money. And I think that kind of sparked something like, "Hey, I could, if I did that 3 times a week, I would have enough money to live."
So what year is this? Like, is this when Facebook Marketplace was a thing or where were you selling?
About 2008, 2009.
So
Facebook Marketplace was not a thing yet, I don't think.
Still
And
Craigslist.
when it was a thing, remember when Facebook Marketplace first came out, it was like terrible, like no one used it.
Everybody was still on Craigslist.
Everybody's still on Craigslist.
Yeah.
If you did sell something on there, you had to sell it for dirt cheap or no one was buying.
Yeah, I don't think I was in there. I was like right 2018, 19. Like I was right at the time, right before it kind of like really took off. People were like still kind of using, but there were so many scammers on Craigslist. So I don't remember it being like, I don't even remember when it started.
I remember when it took off too, you could sell anything. All of a sudden it went from you could not sell anything, and if you did, it had to be for dirt cheap, to you could sell anything and everything for like crazy prices.
That I'll definitely get into that for sure.
More in like the 2018, 19.
Yeah, that's when I got in, and it was just like, I mean, it was so easy. And then of course, Venmo was kind of a thing. And then when the pandemic happened and everything kind of went online, that's when it was like, for me, just absolutely insane. And so I got in right before the market like went crazy. So you were selling on your booth, you were selling on Craigslist, you were selling on stuff like local platforms like that.
Local platforms, just whenever I needed extra money. When you're manning a booth, because you do that as well, right? Do you?
I don't have a booth. Yeah, I've thought about it. I've thought about having a store, and I've just because of my large family, just staying here. We homeschool our kids. I just stayed here and porch pickup, or I'll do deliveries and I'll make money on deliveries. So that's mostly how I sell.
Yeah. Once you start having a booth, then it becomes like you've got to really do this to keep up with everything. So you've got to be out there sourcing, you've got to be sourcing, buying, keeping the money coming in. And then with having a booth, you're only getting paid once a month. So for me, I need to like
make enough money on that one paycheck to last.
Basically, when I started getting booths, that's when Marketplace started to fire up a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. So that you're having both of those incomes at the same time.
Yeah.
So you brought on Eli right around that time, I'm guessing. Is that right?
Eli came into the picture in this realm of vintage furniture whenever we opened the store here about 2 years ago.
Yeah. So he had already done all the legwork, figured out how to do everything. And I was very fortunate that he was able just to say, hey, I've tried this. Here's what works. Here's what doesn't. And, he just kind of showed me the ropes.
Well, and also a lot of it was fate too, because we moved down here to Purcell from Oklahoma City. So we're in like this kind of small town, and Eli had moved to a place called Cole, which is a neighboring small town community. And like, hey man, I think I'm going to try opening a furniture store here in Purcell. We found a house here in Purcell. We were able to move into the house that my wife grew up in.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
So we were like on the search for a house. We had known that she could have this house, like inherited it. But her and I were both thinking like, we don't want to move to Purcell. Let's like buy a house up here and do that. And then finally I came into my senses. I was like, let's move to Purcell. Well, we've got a 2-year-old kid. He was 2. He's 4 now. Like we can't live in Oklahoma City. We lived in like kind of a bad part of town. The good thing about Oklahoma City is you can find a cheap house because there's all these cool neighborhoods where it's like mansion, meth lab, kind of sketchy, cool house, mansion, meth lab. So you get like a good deal because you're sandwiched in all this kind of like diversity.
Yeah.
Gentrification.
Yeah. So anyway, we ended up moving down to Purcell, and I just was looking for a place to like store some furniture, fix it up, maybe have like a storage unit or a little office like I had in Oklahoma City at a place called Catch Design Center. Well, Lauren finds this building that's like, I don't know how many square feet this is. How many would you say?
Like 2,000.
Yeah. 2,000 square feet. It's for rent. It's a storefront on Main Street in Purcell. And it's only a couple $100 more than I was paying in Oklahoma City for like my tiny little office workspace. Let's try to have a store. Let's see if we can do this. I hit up Eli because he's nearby. I'm like, why don't you try this business with us? And he's crazy enough that he said yes.
Yeah. And so Eli, fill in the gaps a little bit from what was going on in your life at the time.
Okay, so we had just moved to Cole, maybe a year or two prior to him moving to Purcell. And just for reference, that's about 30 minutes south of Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of far enough to where your friends don't really want to come hang out anymore. You're kind of out of the fray a little bit. So I was really fortunate to have not only a friend, but my best friend be so close, because now we're 15 minutes apart, 10 minutes apart, something like that.
Yeah.
I was working at the time for a oil company, because if you live in Oklahoma, you work for an oil company or a aerospace company. And the thing with oil companies is they always go through mergers, it seems like. So my company merged with another company. I'm out of a job. I had a little bit of a cushion. So I was just kind of enjoying being a dad and just enjoying some time off.
We had both just become dads. Our kids are the same age, so like a month apart.
Right.
And are y'all, your wives, are they friends?
Yes.
They're actually the same person. Yeah, no, they're friends.
And so y'all are all, and so what was so you're like out of a job, your wife, is she working? Or is it like, is it that feeling of like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Or did you, and so this moment was like, yes, I will come and do what you're doing.
It was kind of, I kind of had to talk myself through it a little bit. I was like, don't panic. You've got a little bit of a cushion, but you're going to have to figure something out at some point, like what's the next move? And I think Clint and I are both similar in the way that we don't really like having soul sucking jobs like that anymore. I really didn't want to go back to that. And I was really enjoying the freedom of just being a dad, and being able to spend time with my kid, and, in these prime years of being, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, where I get to be really influential in her development. I wanted a job that would allow me the freedom to continue to do that, to be at home a lot, to be a dad, to kind of have some flexibility and not suck my soul out. Just as fate would have it, he moved down here and was like, hey, I'm opening a store.
Yeah. And doing this kind of thing, being like, hey, be a part of this. It's sort of like you had to take a big leap of faith, because I'm like, hey, yeah, you're needing a job and you guys might be kind of low on money, but you've got like a cushion of, well, how about you spend that cushion on furniture right now up front? Yeah. Cushion, spend it all on stuff, put it in the store and see if it sells.
Being a business owner is one of the most awesome and scariest things I think I've ever done. And I am like you. It would be, I've tried to like put my resume out there for a corporate job, and I'm like, I just don't know if I can. How do you go from being like CEO, founder of your business, to like answering to someone else and having to like go into a 9-to-5? So I feel that completely. And then for me, being at home with my kids and homeschooling them, putting something on the porch, or just pausing a little bit and, making a quick delivery and then coming back is so nice, because I do get to spend all this time with my family. And then my husband, for a little bit, for about 4 years, the pandemic, he lost his job. He was a videographer, lost his job. And then in June 2022, I was like, let's just bring you home. It's not making sense for you to go out, because they were return to office type of thing. and gas was like $5 a gallon. And I was like, this is just, it doesn't pay enough. And so having him home and our family being really a cohesive unit, and, you know, the kids watching us build something and, you know, struggling, but then also having the faith and to take risks, I think is such a powerful thing that you're doing, that the children are watching, and they're going to grow up to be not little like stormtroopers, that they're going to go out and live just this amazing life. My daughter is like taking trips around the country, like she has no fear. And I love that for them. Let's transition a little bit. You were starting this business up, but like kind of backtrack to the antique mall. What did a typical day at the antique mall look like versus a typical day now being a full-time store owner?
The antique mall, you know, I'm not there. We stage the booth out, and one of the beautiful things about it is you get all of the benefits of having your own business without a lot of the overhead and responsibilities. So someone else is there to sell it for me, collect the money, you know, make sure that they get it to their vehicle and all that. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So some of the antique malls here in Austin have actually closed. How do you feel like that antique mall business model is doing in your area? Is it still thriving, or is it kind of wavering?
I think it's a good business model. I think with any kind of store, you have to stay on top of all of your games, your marketing, with those kind of stores, who are you letting in? You know, and what do they have? Are you just letting anybody in, and do they have good products? You know, like that was the thing about the rink. It had over 84 dealers. So it's the kind of place that when you walk into, like you walk in and you have the feeling of like, I'm probably going to buy something here. There's so much stuff that you're probably going to find something. And that's what I think works for like a place like the rink. But some of the smaller ones, I think it can be really iffy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the ones in Austin were here were really good. And I'm not sure why, if it was just marketing or location or just, owner that was wanting to retire. Not really sure why they closed down. We still have one open, but yeah, you definitely, and I think, and we can kind of talk about social media. The game has really changed with the, social media and having to constantly be like, advertising. It's made it easier in some ways because it's kind of like free advertisement, but also harder because if you're not with it, you've got more and more competition saying, hey, come to my place or come buy from me, especially with Facebook Marketplace. So kind of talk about your experience with social media. When did you start doing social media for your business?
2020 pandemic. That's when I blew up on social media for my TikToks. And then those turned into Reels as, Meta changed their model they copied TikTok and made Reels. It all started there. But, as soon as you open a store, you've got to like fire up all those engines necessary. Luckily, I had the big following already from TikTok, but started a new Facebook, started an Instagram, and started trying to like get people from my stuff over to there. But honestly, the way we grow the most is just that organic growth of people seeing the store, coming to the store. One of the best marketing tips I can give anybody is this works out for us every time. Take a bunch of pictures of everything in the store, not like single photos, but like take a big picture of like where you can see everything in the store, several of all the different rooms, and then make a big marketplace post about either having a sale or like, hey, I've got a bunch of mid-century modern or vintage furniture. And then in the body description, I talk about our pricing, how we're negotiable, and the more you buy, the better discount you'll get. And every time I do a post like that, several people come in that following week and they buy stuff. And that's free advertising. People will be asking me questions in Marketplace about my store, like, where is this? And what are your hours? That's one of the best ways to get people in.
Or even just having some pieces that are attention grabbers. You might post a beautiful dresser and you get a lot of people asking about it. you tell them, hey, this is at my store. Come check out my store. But
Facebook has that built-in market. I mean, that's honestly where I make still most of my sales. Like I have an Instagram, and I still post the furniture, and I, kind of pushed it hard there. But I've kind of changed my Instagram to being more of, selling online courses for how to pick stuff on the side of the road and resell it. Because my heart is making sure that a mom is able to take their kids out to do fun stuff because they have extra money. And so offering that ability, like you don't have to have overhead or, you don't have to go spend money on inventory. You can just go scour the roads and then clean something up and sell it on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, it's, itself is not the best place for sales, especially when you're doing local, unless all of your followers are really, really local, because, it's not easy to search. Whereas Facebook Marketplace has this built-in, you're already going there to shop, because Instagram, you're not going to shop. And you can search it really easily. And even when you search sofa, couch, the word couch comes up, like it has the AI algorithm working for it. And so it's a really interesting about, y'all using Facebook Marketplace and just doing it. I've done that a couple times. I haven't found that it's done really well, but maybe I think that wide photo is also, and having a store, obviously.
Well, and you know your stuff, like with Instagram. Yeah. Instagram's a great place for the stories. Put a link in the story for an item. We use that for items on our website that we can ship to you.
Yeah.
I sell so much stuff through Instagram that way, giving you a link to our website. Facebook's like the old traditional way of, hey, here's where most people find out about us. We've got Marketplace, such a great tool because they're already in the buying mindset, or they already need something. They need vintage furniture. They're looking for it. They click on you. That's the best way to get a customer right there. Instead of being like, hey, I don't know what you're doing right now, but like, you want my vintage furniture? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Facebook is great for buying, Instagram for, kind of the real and entertainment. What about TikTok? I'm not near as, I need to be more active on TikTok. I've been starting to I've uploaded stuff, but it's kind of like hit or miss for me. What do you feel like the difference between Instagram and TikTok is?
TikTok is where you have like a lot more anonymity. No one knows who you are.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are just on TikTok just to watch videos. They're not necessarily there to shop. There's some, TikTok shop. I guess there's a lot of people doing that. I despise that. I've been interested to try it a couple times, but I'm also like, this is going to like hurt my soul.
Yeah.
I try to sell stuff off TikTok shop, but at the same time, if I could make a lot of money, that would like provide for my family. And I'm always like, maybe if I find the right thing and we can all win, but at the end of the day,
it's hard because I feel the same way. I mean, at the end of the day, I need to feed my family, but I also care about the values that being sustainable and not just like this kind of fast, constant consumerism that happens. Though I think even in vintage furniture, in something that's supposed to be sustainable, I see still the effects of fast furniture. I mean, luckily it's vintage, and they just go, I've seen my, I tell people, if you want to use my photos, like to resell, like once you've bought something and you're moving, like go ahead, I don't mind. And I've seen people, within 2 years reselling a couch that I sold them.
I see that all the time with some of our pictures that we've taken, like, oh, hey, did you listen? It's like, did I listen to this? They're like, oh, wait, yeah, that was 3 years ago using my pictures. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mind so much. I do mind a little bit now because the amount of scammers that are using photos is kind of scary on that regard. But I do feel like there's still the fast fashion or fast, furniture is still happening, but at least it's the sustainable furniture that's that's being recycled. So I guess it's not so bad, but I kind of feel like the mindset of the current society is like change because of the internet. We're constantly seeing new designs, new spaces, and we're like, we must change instead of feeling like satisfied with what our space looks like completely.
Instead of what we normally see is, a couple in their 40s bought this furniture and decor, and they never changed it till the day they die.
Exactly.
That's the most amazing estate sale you ever went to.
Yeah, we go to a lot of estate sales where it's just a time capsule from the 60s or the 70s, you know, and it's like they bought all their furniture, they bought their sofa and their decor, and they just check that box and, you know, they're done. Like you never have to change it again. And those are the best estate sales to go to.
But I've always been a changer person.
Yeah.
Even, you know, before TikTok and all that, like I got to stay inspired.
Yeah.
There's areas in our house right now that I'm like, okay, I'm super happy with this. I'm not changing a thing about it. But yeah, got to be inspired.
No, I agree. And I think it's probably the creative kind of mind, the person that just really likes to continue to renegotiate their space. I mean, I have a front room that I had totally set. I really loved it. It was kind of like Pinterest vibes, you know, modular couch and, you know, a white rug with the, you know, dark X's on it or something like that. Mm-hmm. White walls. But everybody had it, very Pinterest. And I finally was like, this, first of all, it's like an Amazon couch. It was so uncomfortable. Sold it. It was great to clean because it was velvet, but it just, you know, my little kids could sit on it. No, it wasn't a futon, but it was like that low to the ground style. It was great for the kids. They could sit on it, but it was so uncomfortable to like lean back and like watch TV, which is why I love vintage furniture. Really, honestly, love the, like, I don't know if I love this style, but I currently have like it's like a 1990s, like post-mod leather couch with like a lot of cush, and it's so nice to have the comfort along with the style. But, you know, right now I'm, you know, it's after I got rid of that couch, it was kind of been like this rotating room of like creativity that I'm able to do. And I bring pieces in and then I take pieces out and I'm like, this is not working. So right now I'm doing like this series about like making it like a Friends style. I'm going to paint it that purple color and like kind of recreate the Friends living room. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason why I really like this idea is because some of the furniture, as I feel like from the 90s and 2000s, like had a little bit more like were more kid friendly. Like the kids, it was first of all kind of floral and like pattern, so you can't see stains. And it was like big and chunky, and like so the kids could jump on it. And I'm kind of excited to see how long this particular living room idea that I have lasts. So we'll see what it
how does postmodern furniture do you're in Austin? How does it do there? Does it sell well?
It like tessellated stone tables sell really well, you know, and I think it goes through cycles. Like, you know, for a while, everybody wants a tessellated stone table, or they want, you know, something that is kind of, a lot of the marble type items, I think still sell really well. Mm-hmm. Couches, like I have the postmodern, like a white, I actually painted it, like leather painted it again because it was kind of like a cream color, which is fine. I wanted to actually paint it the same color, but when I got the leather paint, I was like, oh, it's actually more white, but it looks great. And that was a fun project to learn how to paint leather, and like, cause there's all that crackling on the leather that happens on the seat on a lot of these.
Leather?
Oh yeah. And it's actually holding it. Cause I was like, if it can go there's a brand that sells really small bottles that have real fun colors. And then there's furniture. I think it's Furniture Clinic. They sell large bottles of like normal colors, like a camel and like taupe and stuff like that. And it works out really well for, you know, for what I'm doing. Cause I was like, if there was like a green leather chair, I would go in with like just acrylic paint and like kind of fill in those like cracks and like wipe it down so that, you know, the paint gets in the crack and it, you know, stays really good. But the leather paint's actually meant for that. And it's holding up really nicely. We have 9 people living in our house. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
You died.
Yeah.
Leather.
It was kind of like a shoe polish situation that I tried just to clean up some spots, and it worked all right. But
then that one postmodern leather couch, like, did you use dye on it?
I think I did, and it didn't work. That was like
no, but you ended up doing something that worked.
Talking about the black one?
Yeah.
I think it was the shoe polish.
Really?
Yeah.
It stayed. Yeah. We gave it the test.
Yeah. It was definitely trial and error on that.
I think it's like in a little tub, and it has like a little sponge. I think I've used something similar, and that one works too. Yeah. I think it's very, very similar in what I'm using. This one just comes in a big like paint bottle, you know, that's like 50 ounces or something like that. And it was like, it went pretty far. Like, and I just like hand water, like finger painted it on.
Can you use it on vinyl too?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it was just a matter of testing it out. I see why you wouldn't be able to. I think the one person that used the other paint that's in the smaller, it starts with an A, like Argulis or something. He did a stool for his like bike shop, and it was vinyl. It wasn't leather. So I think it does work on vinyl.
Wow.
So as a like duo, and you own the store, now that you've been doing this for 2 years together, what are some of the like things that y'all have run into that have been like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here? And then sometimes you're like, is there any moments when you're like, I hate you and I want you to die, go away?
Coming from me, at least, I would say that it's definitely a lot more benefits than disadvantages.
Yeah. Double dad.
Yeah, double dad.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Did
the kids like come and run around the place for when the moms are out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We have kids up in here all the time. So we go thrifting together. We go sourcing together a lot. And one of the drawbacks to that can be like, well, who found what first? And so what we just double dad it. We just both buy everything that we just decide together.
Yeah.
And then we split the profit.
Right.
Yeah, that probably.
We have more things that we buy ourselves that we sell and flip, but then we also have a lot of double dad.
Okay.
And that's also good if it's kind of a gamble, if we're like, I want to experiment with this and I've never sold anything like it before, and I don't want to take all the risk. You want to split this risk with me?
Yeah, because this business is gambling. It's just like getting really good at gambling, furniture gambling.
Yeah, I agree. I had a friend come in and she bought a lot of furniture with me and we split the cost, and that, it really panned out for us. And it is nice to have someone come in and mitigate the risk a little bit.
You're both trying to get it sold as well.
Right. And then moving furniture, that's a huge advantage that we have.
Exactly.
And then having another person's eye, and another person's perspective. And
when we hang all the art in here, it's, we're a duo when we're doing that.
Yeah.
It really works out in a lot of ways. With Eli and I, there are not a lot of drawbacks just because we are such good friends and we've known each other for so long that we kind of like know how to fill in each other's blanks.
It definitely is good to go into business with somebody we know all the ins and outs for sure. Right. So you've done a couple of collaborations. I know you talked about, somebody that shows up on your reels all the time, but you've done like actual collaborations with brands. What can you kind of talk about that experience?
Well, the last huge one I did, it was the biggest one I've ever done, was with Airwick. And whenever you work with like a really big brand like that, there's a lot of legal stuff. Like you present your ideas and like, well, we can't say that. We can't do that. You can do this, but can you wear gray pants? A lot of weird little deals. Is there anything specifically you want to know about it?
How did they come to you? Just kind of the creation process, and, like you've got this identity as being kind of funny and a little quirky, bringing that all into the video and, making it not salesy. I think that's the biggest thing that I notice about you and what you're doing is like, you're like watching it and then you're like, oh, it's Airwick, just the whole creation process and like how you got those collaborations.
Yeah. So I'm the kind of person that, I have to be really inspired to make a video or a piece of art. I'm not saying my videos are a piece of art, but like I'm that kind of person. Like I'm going to make something, I got to be inspired to do it. So that can be a challenge whenever Airwick's like, hey, make us 2 videos that are 30 seconds, make this other one 26.2, like, oh, I got to put me in a box, man. And so that can be interesting. You want to do this video? I'm like, no, I don't want to make this video. And like, here's $10,000. Like, okay, I'm going to make it. I'm going to figure this out. And sometimes I can use those like with TikTok. The reason I like to make videos in that short form content is there is some creative freedom within the box that they give you. Like I can hold your attention for a minute. Like whenever it first came around for me in 2020, you could only do up to like a minute, I think at the time. I was like, I can hold your attention for that. So some of the times the limitations are freeing for me. So whenever Airwick does hit you up and you can only do 30 seconds, I try to lean into that side of myself. That's like 30 seconds. You can do anything, man. Come on, you got this.
And if they're coming to you, they kind of know what they're getting too.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right. They know what to expect. And I definitely, every time I've probably given them a few takes, and they're like, okay, yeah, try one more time. Every once in a while you send them one and they're like, yeah, that's great. We're going to work with this.
Yeah.
But,
So do you do all the editing, or do they edit it and then send it back to you to post on your page?
I do all the editing. There's been a couple times where I got to work with like a team that would throw in their suggestions, or they would help with certain little things like, hey, he needs a Scooby-Doo sound. So let's get him one that we can use. And guys send you a little track of the sound you need. But yeah, for the most part, it's all me.
Yeah. And so are you seeking out those brand deals, or are they seeking you out, or a little bit of both?
Sadly, they're seeking me out. I wish I tried harder and got more of them. But yeah, maybe that's something I'll reconcile.
Yeah. You got to get a VA. It's hard to do it all by yourself.
Yeah, I have a manager. He's who got me the Airwick one, but he's not super active with me. So maybe I need to kind of take charge back on that again.
Yeah, I'm sure. My daughter was actually just recommending. She was like, you should maybe get like a PR manager. Or she was like, there might be another word for it, but somebody that like helps promote and get you deals like that for sure. So if you were to like talk about your relationship together, what is like your strength, Clinton, and then your strength, Eli?
He's biceps, I'm glutes. What?
I would say that I'm more of a internal, analytical, kind of strategic kind of person, and like a chess player kind of. I love to play chess, so I'm always thinking ahead. And
I'm kind of the reckless abandonment.
I identify with that one. Yeah, I'm more reckless. My husband is there's always got to be one of both parties in any good duo.
He's very in the moment. He's very fun to work with. What would you say some of your strengths are?
Yeah, I'd say
contrast to that.
I used to make this comparison that I was kind of like, if I was an X-Man, I would be Cyclops, but it was before he got the glasses. So it was just kind of open your eyes and like fire goes everywhere. And people like Eli, people like my wife are the kind that can put those glasses on me and help me to concentrate. Little laser beams, laser focus.
Yeah. Very creative. A lot of creative energy there.
Yeah.
Then I kind of keep going on a bunch of different things unless I've learned to, having this business and everything, I've really honed it in the last, I'd say 5 years, really just started honing in on things and like finding what works and just keep doubling down on that.
Yeah.
Doubling that on that.
Yeah. When you're looking at your do you look at your analytics and go, okay, this worked, this didn't? How do you do that? How do you make videos that go viral?
Well, that comes from just inspiration again. That's why I don't make as many videos as I probably should or would really like to. I know that anytime I do a skirt removal, that'll be a viral video. And I know that most of the time if I go to a thrift store, that'll be a viral video. So I guess in short, no, I don't really look at the analytics. I don't have like, this is what works, except for those couple things. I want to always like bring something new to a video every time if I can. But I also like to kind of keep some of the jokes going that are already there, because that's fun too. So I think the next video might be about these things. I brought this in and this was in plastic. I was like, what are these? It says wild, wonderful paper things from Space Forms, like from the 70s. And you open this up and all the stuff, the stuff is inside there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you can see all these little pieces of paper.
Like the adult version of paper dolls almost.
Yeah. It's origami type stuff that you can make cool, like retro modern light fixtures.
Yeah, I think this is from the 70s. Maybe.
Yeah. What does this first thing say? It's like how to make a Tiffany lamp.
Y'all put it together, or like y'all just like sit there and have a little.
Well, so we haven't done anything with this yet, but I opened it up and then I immediately sent Eli a picture and was like, this is the next video that we found these and we're making stuff out of them. I don't know what we're doing yet, but it involves this. So that's kind of an example of how it goes down. Mm-hmm. That thing inspired me, and now
Now you're going to make a
And
video.
then you work your way through it and figure out how it can be a video.
So Eli, do you come up with any of the video ideas, or is that kind of Clinton's?
That's definitely more in Clinton's wheelhouse. I mean,
But I'm open.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times he'll be like, "Hey, I want to make a video today," and you know, we'll start coming up with ideas, and yeah, you know, there'll be contributions on my part, but
Right.
he definitely spearheads that side of things.
Yeah, we just did one where we were thrifting together in Tulsa, and
yeah, I saw that one. Yeah,
there's an okiebids.com auction that we take part in just about every time that it comes around, and it's in Tulsa. So we win a couple items each on there, and then we plan our little trip to go pick it up. And every time we do that trip, we just thrift all of Tulsa, and it's such a fun time.
Do y'all get like a U-Haul and go out and thrift, or do y'all take your own vehicles?
We take a truck, and we have a trailer, and we'll take that. Yeah, and we'll just load it. We'll pack it out every time.
And it rains every time.
And it will rain every time too.
Yeah.
It's not a covered trailer. So
lovely.
Park under something for a while or figure that out.
Yeah. You're going to get your Windex out to clean up.
Yeah.
Don't put Windex on wood.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah.
We refinish a piece in the person's front yard that we were delivering a piece to Tulsa because of the rain. You know, it had some little like, on it.
Yeah, and we had used Restore Finish. And one thing with Restore Finish is you can't, like, within 60 days or something of using it, like, don't let rain get on there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And you could probably put a top coat on after
it, and it'd be fine. Yeah.
60 days. After 60 days. There's something weird with Restore Finish. Like, all the chemicals have to kind of like evaporate out of it until you can do a top coat. But water will just put like these weird little marks on there. That happens. So we basically had to redo it. We had to like steel wool and reapply the Restore Finish on the lady's porch.
Oh my gosh, that's so nerve-wracking.
And we realized there's been a Ring camera the whole time.
So then we kind of started like moderating what we were saying.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this is
great. Nothing wrong happened. We're just
we do this every time.
The good. Yeah.
This is.
Did you get that Ring footage? You should get that.
Yeah. Need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy guys on my porch refinishing. I think that could be a good video. So, what do your wives like think about all that you do? And I know Clinton, you're like kind of goofy and funny, like. And how does she respond to all that goofy humor? And then like, what does your wife think about this?
My wife's goofy too. She just doesn't show it as much around people, but she's a complete goof and weirdo. So she can sometimes play that role, like roll her eyes at me and that, but I'm like, come on, you're weirder than me. So it plays in pretty well. She has ideas for stuff too in the videos. And
is she ever in the videos? I think I feel like
some of the videos, and a lot of times when I sing harmonies, she'll put a little harmony on there too, because she's a great singer and songwriter, guitar player person.
Is that how y'all met, through music?
No, we actually met through hair. She's a hair stylist, and a girl that was doing my hair, that was my neighbor, was like, you need to meet this other girl. And that was 10 years before we got married. We met and dated for a little while, but she was like 19 and I was 23, and we were just too young at that time, hadn't lived enough life. And then we kind of went our separate ways and came back 10 years later, got married.
Okay.
I didn't realize the same thing for Sierra and I in a way.
Yes, man.
Because my wife, we met in high school. We dated in high school. And then she moved to Hollywood and LA and
Vegas.
Vegas. And then came back and like his wife, she's crazy. I mean, she's just
they could have their
insane
show for sure.
Yeah.
And right now her hobby is making rugs, and she's got this thing that's like a machine gun, and she's in our living room like
I've seen that. That is so cool.
And she just finds these obsessions, and and just really gets into things, and I love it because I'm kind of the same way.
That sounds like a crazy household. Two creatives in the same household seems to me. My husband's like so calm and like not super creative and kind of tamps me down all the time so that I don't laser beam the entire world.
I think he calms her a little bit. I think she's kind of like the me.
Okay.
She's me of their household, and Lauren is Eli in our household.
Yeah, she'll just wake up one day and be like, "Hey, let's sell everything and live in a bus and travel."
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the same conversation I've had with my husband, and he was like, "Babe, we have 7 kids.
Where's this coming from?" Yeah. Let's tone it down a little. Let's just go camping. Let's try camping first.
Manifester, and he's a manifesting generator, and my wife is a manifesting generator. And I don't really know all this spirit talk, but my wife gets into it. So that's what she told me is going on.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You're like, I believe you. Good deal.
Yeah. Sounds right.
So kind of talk about how reselling has changed in the course of since you started. And like, for me, I know that most small businesses don't make it past 5 years. I'm right at that 5-year mark. And I can absolutely say that if I didn't have this absolute blind faith that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, this current recession with like lack of furniture and people aren't buying as much and things are more expensive would have totally crushed me. Clinton, especially since you've been doing it, longer, can you talk about the market and the ebbs and flows and then the current market and what you've experienced?
Absolutely. There are always these ebbs and flows for sure. Like you'll have, especially if you're a person who's listing on Marketplace a lot, you really notice it because you have like 20 listings. Well, most of the time, I'm sure it's like you're selling things every couple days. If you're really good at it, you might sell one thing a day. I know some people that do that. And then all of a sudden, crickets, like you're not selling anything for days, maybe a week. You're like, all the stuff I'm putting on here that you're checking your views. I got some views and some saves, but no one's biting. And it seems like it's either right at the end of the month or right at the first of the month. But with having a store, I'm able to like look at data now and look at something I've been doing is, in May, I was looking at June and seeing that last year in June, we had really good sales. So let's go crazy on stocking the store for June. And we did, and we did even better this time in June. And so it's crazy how true things seem to roll with like the year prior for us and our sales. And we are trending upward with our sales, like percentage wise. Like we're on the bar graph, the bar is a little higher each time from the year before as far as our monthly sales.
Yeah, I noticed that with like having a Shopify store, it allows me to look back at the previous month and go, oh yeah, right around payday. And then it comes down and then, and it's always for me, my sales, I think around the 16th of the month kind of start to amp up. And then, we'll start tapering between different parts of, whenever your people's mortgages and rents are due. So
right.
It helps you feel better about like, oh, it's not just me. I don't just suck. My furniture doesn't suck.
Yeah. And then having a retail store, there are things like furniture slows down around Mother's Day, around Father's Day, there's all kinds of holidays and things that you have to account for. But when you have a store, you can start stocking things for those holidays. And you can keep your sales up by like, hey, we've got this whole, section of stuff that we bought off Fair. Like it's about fair.com?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like an Etsy for wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
People's like products on there at a wholesale price and sell it in your store and retail. And so we'll stock up on things from that to help supplement these times when people aren't buying as much of the furniture or some of the other things.
I think another thing just to add to that with the ebb and flow is that, and this is just from my limited kind of zoomed in experience, is that, the trends change. What people are buying changes. So, you might be really thinking wicker's the thing, and you're buying up wicker and you're posting wicker. And then you'll notice that, people aren't buying wicker and now they're buying postmodern, or now they're buying, they want this kind of chair or that kind of chair. And those trends just subtly change, and you just have to kind of stay on top of that.
Yeah.
And also with your own personal motivation, there might be months that I'm feeling really good and I'm feeling really motivated and just on top of my game and everything's working out. And I'm able to get out there and source and really hustle and make the sales. There's some months where it's a fight, or you're not finding the stuff that you want to find. I think that's another contributing factor to the ebbs and flows too.
Yeah, I definitely think that, making sure you're kind of aware of your own energy level and different goals that you have for different parts of your life. Because you are a whole person. You have a wife, you have birthdays, you have holidays and stuff yourself. And me, I pursue pageantry. So I'm Mrs. Austin. When I'm getting ready for a pageant, like I'm thinking about my health and my macros and, how to get the most in shape and how to do my walk. And I'll notice, if I'm not careful, my sales will go down during those months because I'm not, really making sure, like, okay, remember that part of your life because that's actually what pays your bills.
Yeah.
And being aware of that, and then not beating yourself up when you do have something, if a baby is born or a sickness happens. But it's hard when you're the sole, if you're the sole provider for your family. My husband, I sent him back to work. I mean, I think he was ready to go back to work, but I was like, you need to go back to work because it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Constantly have just like, oh my gosh, I'm literally sustaining a family of 9 on this furniture business. And that's its own pressure and stress. So being, I think aware, I think is
really. Going for Miss America?
Say that again.
Are you going for Miss America?
So not Miss America. So I'm in United States of America Miss. And so there's different pageant systems. So my official title is USOA Mrs. Austin. And so I'll go compete in November and it'll go to the Nationals, which is United States of America Mrs. And but it's different from the normal one that you used to see on TV, but there's a lot of different pageants. So there's a couple different Mrs. Austins in Austin, and I know a lot of them. So
cool.
But it opened.
Every bit of it.
Yeah.
I mean, mom of 7, running her own business, homeschooling.
Right.
Yeah. And doing a podcast and writing books on top. It's. I don't know. I'm like you. I'm like, I need to kind of probably laser focus down so I'm not so spread thin. One of the things for me with doing vintage furniture, and maybe y'all can talk about, this as well, is being financially able to support my family. And then also being super flexible has allowed me to go out into the community and, volunteer for the Slow Fashion Festival, to speak out against some of the things that I, want to speak out against childhood sexual abuse and addiction. And so has being in this space, like how has being in this space affected you going out into the community, or has it?
I would say it definitely has. I mean, he's a board member of the Chamber of Commerce here in Purcell. I'm a member of the Historical Society here in Purcell or McLean County. And all of that is because of, this storefront, I would say. Mm-hmm. It's a very tight-knit community, and it's just kind of put us in a position to engage with other people.
It's amazing what a retail store in a small town can do for the community.
Yeah.
We're finding out, like, I'm on the chamber board and he's a board member of the Historical Society. And just within that, we started an art walk here in Purcell because I've got my neighbor that moved in, that I convinced to move in. He's the type of person that can run festivals and do these things. So he gets here. We're like, hey, we want to start an art walk. He starts it. And now, like, we just have this domino effect and this like synergy between these two shops that are right next door to each other, that we're hearing all the time. People are like, Purcell is really on the up and up. I mean, and it's just from these retail stores that this is all happening.
Yeah, I think that's so important.
Is the mayor at the store, here, you will see the chief of police
or city councilman.
City council,
Yeah.
you're going to run into them. Whereas in Oklahoma City, like if you saw the mayor, you're like, there's the mayor. Wow.
Yeah.
He's a lot taller.
Right. Yeah.
So that's definitely a benefit to being in a small community. And, and it's a challenge to bring people from the city down here. We're also trying to prop the city up to make it more of a destination so that we can do better financially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most of our customers are not from Purcell.
Right. It's 7,000 people. It's a small town.
Yeah. I grew up in a town of 5,000. Yeah. And I think that one of the things that I always want to inspire people is to realize that their small business selling vintage furniture, it's just furniture, but it's so much more if you allow it to be, and you're building community and you're bringing commerce into a city and revitalizing, not only furniture, but revitalizing a community. And I always want to make sure people know that it's like no small idea is actually small. Small thinkers make it small. And if you really realize how powerful doing something like this is, it can go beyond so much more than just selling furniture and making money for your family.
Yeah.
But what are some of the biggest tips that you could give to somebody that is starting out?
I would say, just don't be scared to take a risk. If you're refinishing a piece of furniture, for example, you're wanting to know if that piece of furniture sells, just try it, just see, just dig in. That's the only way you're going to learn. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes. I'm still honing certain skill sets. If I make a mistake that's irreparable, which is not very often, I'll just sell it as a project piece or something, or just burn it. I don't know. But
it's not the end of the world. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the end of the world. Definitely.
Yeah. And how about you, Clinton?
I think if you're interested in this business, try selling like 10 or 15 things over the course of a month or so, just casually. Don't just go all in immediately. Just give it a try. 10 to 15 things, list them on Marketplace, and see how you like that. If whether you're fixing up the pieces, painting them, refinishing them, or not. Some people just buy something, clean it up, and sell it for more. So I say just try it. And after you sell those 10, 15 things, see where you stand financially. Did it make an impact? Did you enjoy it? If you really liked it and you made a little bit of money, then take it even further.
I think that's solid advice. So for the people listening, can you tell us where we can find you on social media and online? And then also you can give the address of the store if you would like.
Yeah, I'm at Clinton Avery Tharp on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And then our store is called Main Street Vintage. It's in Purcell, Oklahoma. You can go to mainstreetvintageok.com, or you can find us on Facebook by searching Main Street Vintage Purcell.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming on and spending time with us. And I know that the people that are listening are going to just be able to take all these tidbits that you've given and hopefully go out and keep history out of the landfill and put money in their pocket on top of that. So I thank you so much for joining me. And I am excited to introduce our next guest for next time and join us next week.
Thanks for having us. We had a great time.
Thank you. That's great.